Unit 1.05, SERP. Should schools be responsible for students' mental health? Let's do the math. Mental illnesses are disorders of the brain that affect a person's mood, thinking, and behavior. Many factors contribute to mental illness, including a person's genes, experiences, and environment. It is not a person's choice or fault whether they have a mental illness. Some schools have started programs to improve students' mental health and address mental illness. The goal of these programs is to reduce the need for serious intervention and to recognize right away when a student is suffering from mental illness. In Montana, for example, they started a program that pairs each middle school student with an adult to provide advice and help with social, academic, and emotional problems. Let's start with option 1. 3 years after starting the program in Montana, the number of students needing a more intensive intervention plan, such as in-school mental health services, has gone down by 2/3. Which fraction is not equivalent to 2/3? Well, we can work on simplifying these to see. If I look at 6/9 and I divide the top and bottom by the same number, 6 divided 3 is 2, and 9 divided 3 is 3. So 6/9 is 2/3. Let's look at 200 over 300. 200 over 300. When you have zeros on the end of the fractions, the nice way to simplify them is I can slash through them as long as they're the same amount on top and bottom. Look at that. And what's left? 2/3. And let's look at 65 over 100. We have 65 over 100. Now I know 5 goes into both of these, so we'll divide by 5 on top and bottom. Okay? And 65 divided 5 is 13. And 100 divided 5 is 20. That is not 2/3. And I'm going to double check with the last one though, just to make sure. But we have 4, 6, and I can divide the top and bottom by the same number of 2. And that will equal 2 over 3, same one. So we know that C, 65 over 100, does not simplify to this. Now, here's an interesting way to look at this. So 65 over 100 is also 65%, or as a decimal, 0.65. Just some pieces of information you might use. Now, what if we go with option 2? Option 2, from 2005 to 2017, the percent of students in the United States ages 12 to 17 who demonstrated major signs of depression grew from 8.7% to 13.2%. Among a group of 1,000 students aged 12 to 17, how many more were likely to demonstrate major signs of depression in 2017 than in 2005? Now, percents are based on 100. So let's calculate something this way. If I did 13.2 minus 8.7, let's subtract. I'm going to borrow. 12 minus 7 is 5. Bring down my decimal. And then 12 minus 8 is 4. So this is a difference of 4.5%. Okay? And so we can also look at it from a couple other ways. This is how many more likely. We could say about 4.5 out of every 100 is how much it increased. Or we could say, make this a whole number, 45 out of every 1,000. That increased that much. 45 more kids out of every 1,000. Because this could have been 87 out of every 1,000. This could have been 132 out of every 1,000. What a big increase when you look at it from that point, right? 87 kids out of every 1,000 have signs of depression in the year 2005, and then 13.2, which changes to 132 kids out of 1,000 in 2017 had major signs of depression. Lots of ways to look at that. So, discussion question. Mental illness can make it harder for people to enjoy life in some cases. Mental illness can even contribute to suicidal thoughts. Among students between the ages of 10 and 18, 1 in 7 report having seriously considered trying to take their own life. However, mental health programs like the program in Montana have shown considerable positive effects on student mental health. Before we go too far, let's look at something really quick. 1 in 7 is the same as 1 over 7. And if I were to do 1 divide 7 on the calculator times 100, then I would get 1 divide 7 times 100 gives me a repeating decimal. Let's look at that. See that right there? Oops. 1 divide 7 times 100 is what it should say. 1 divide 7 times 100. Knew that looked wrong. Times 100. So look at that. See that number? So that means that 14%, if we were to round up, 14%, that's a pretty big percent when you think about 1 out of 7, of students between the ages of 10 and 18 having seriously considered trying to take their own life. That's huge. So let's go on back to this. Some schools have started mental health awareness weeks when teachers and students can talk about mental illness and how to better manage daily stress and struggles. Other students have also started offering in-school space for private psychologists and counselors to come and meet with the students. Do you think this is a valid use of school time? Do you think your school has sufficient mental health resources? What would you like to see your school do differently? And here's some crisis information if you need to contact anyone.